Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Thank furlough. It's yet another Friday, and it's the 24th of July, episode number 63. And as always on a Friday, I have with me Jacquie Mount, who's here to tell you all the latest happenings. And we've just been saying, actually, that HMRC are sort of slowly working through their COVID and coming out the other side with report after report after report, which we are now expected to comment upon. They like to bring them out just before the summer holidays because they think that a lot of people will miss them. But we're going to avidly work our way through them, provide responses on behalf of the bookkeeping profession in general, but ICB bookkeepers, you good people in particular. So, Jacquie, relatively slow week apart from loads of paperwork.
Absolutely right. Loads of paperwork, quite a few technical queries come through, which I want to raise and discuss and possibly get an online chat going about one or two of them this afternoon. So I'm looking for some feedback from some of you, or all of you, or as many of you as you want this afternoon. I want to take a few views on some things that happened. But before that, let's just have a quick reminder. Heading for the 31st of July, we've got a week. It's the last day for claiming the Corona CJRS scheme for CJRS1, sorry, Friday afternoon. 31st of July is the deadline, and obviously we're into CJRS2 now, which is the flexible fellow. But CJRS1 last claimed from on the 31st of July to take you up to the 30th of June. A reminder in CJRS2 that you have to claim between the first day and the last day of a month, and if you're doing weekly furlough claims, then you're going to have to do a fifth less than a week, 6 days or less claim to do that. You can't claim for a period going over a month then. So it's up there on, there was an article, a couple of articles gone up about that. I think we've got the flexible furlough calculator working now for those who want to. Had a bit of feedback on it, mostly positive, but some concerns about the figures don't match up what HMRC was saying, but we maybe come up with that, and I think we found out why that's happening. Just looking at what else before we get into topics for this week. Couple of, as Garry said, quite a lot of notices come out from HMRC this week. We spent a lot of time over the last couple of years, or I have, looking at making tax digital. And they've, as you know now, making tax digital for VAT is well in place for those companies that have turnover greater than the VAT registration threshold of £85,000. HMRC have now made some announcements on dates from April 2022, so just 20 months time. MTD for VAT and digital storage of records and everything is going to become compulsory for all VAT registered businesses, even those who are registered voluntarily. About a third of those businesses are already signed up for MTD, so it may or may not be too big and onerous a job, but something to bear in mind. And they have announced that MTD for income tax will now go live in April 2023. Now, don't think that should cause too many problems, providing that you're geared up for MTD. So for VAT registered businesses, it shouldn't cause a problem because you're doing quarterly updates for your VAT. So therefore, the tax update should follow through, and it should just be the press of a button. We will pick up on that nearer the time when we get some more details. HMRC have never spoken about limited companies, and there is a consultation coming out in the autumn for that. So we'll have a look to see what's involved in that. At the moment, companies have to report their year-end accounts to HMRC and Companies House using software anyway, unless they're actually doing it themselves. So again, when it comes out, it may not be too much of an onerous task. The level for turnover, though, for individuals and landlords has still been set at £10,000. If you remember back when we started talking about this, we said, well, that was a ridiculous amount for turnover because it's less than the personal allowance, so therefore a lot of people may not pay tax. I was reading between the lines of a couple of comments on this week, and bearing in mind that HMRC are now trying to reduce the fraud, they're trying to claim back a lot of back taxes, close the tax gap. It may very well be, and this is pure speculation, and this is my view, it's not ICB's view, it's just a thought I had, that people who submit tax returns below £10,000, whether all of the money is actually being declared, and it may very well be that by getting quarterly returns, it might possibly give them the in to looking to see that these figures are accurate. I don't know, personal view only. So that's the MTD extensions. As Garry said, a lot of consultations came out. We've got the tax agent, access to tax agents, uploading and digitalising, bringing on clients coming through. I've had the first couple of, I've got one working party gone, another one in August. We've got to report on that by the end of August. So we're starting to take feedback from members and put our response together. There are several consultations going on about tax avoidance schemes and how that's going to apply, and some ideas on that one. Reducing the tax gap, there's already one open on what's going to happen with capital gains tax. Feedback in the accountancy press is that the level of capital gains tax may well be increased because the Chancellor's got to try and get some of his money back, and that's might be one way of doing it. Again, speculation, there's nothing come out there doing that. That's come from the Office of Tax Simplification. So quite a lot of paperwork, as Garry said, to read. That's next week gone. So we'll take it from there.
Whilst you're on about some of the things that are going on, we were talking beforehand, just so everybody knows, there is a particular scam taking place at the moment, which is a really serious one, and you need to look at this. Those of you who are in either the East or West Sussex groups, this is already up on there. It's something that Claire Allen, council member and branch chair down there, has alerted everybody to. It's something she's found. There's a film on there of a garage, a new car salesman. He owns a company that sells cars, and he's been scammed under the bounce back loan scheme. And what happened was he had a couple of people, young people, come in, like a car that he'd got there. It was £40,000. They didn't ask many questions, so he thought that was a bit weird, but they said it's fine. And he said, you know, pay a deposit. They said, no, what we'll do, we'll pay you in cash. Can you send us an invoice to our company? He said, well, all right, okay. So he duly sent them on his company letterhead with all these details, bank details at the bottom, sent them an invoice. Didn't know whether to expect to see them ever again, because he said they didn't ask enough questions. The only question they really came back was, were the tyres in good condition? He thought was a bit odd. He's had many years in the business. So the next thing you know, he sends out the invoice, and sure enough, from the bank comes a transfer for the £40,000. Now, he was still a bit worried about this and thought, well, hold on a minute, I wonder if there's something here which means that I think I've got the money, but they can get it back in some way. So he rang the bank, and the bank said, no, so it's all right, the loan's on its way to you. He said, what do you mean? Now, what these crooks had done was use the information that they had on him, and they'd applied for the bounce back loan on behalf of that company, his company. So consequently, if he had accepted the money, he would have been accepting a loan. They would have had a car for nothing, and he'd have had £40,000 to pay back for his own car. Now, apparently, this isn't the first time it's happened. This has happened many times. Whether or not it's happened with other things, I don't know, but it makes sense that it could well happen with all sorts of things that people want to buy for big money or something like that. Now, we've heard that banks are really difficult in giving businesses money, you know, they have been. So perhaps the fact that they've been pushed to be a little bit more open, a little bit quicker to give the money, has actually bitten people in reverse now. I don't know, but please, if you've got clients who are in the motor trade and are selling used cars, tell them about this scam. We are trying to get this video, I think it's come from YouTube or something like that. We're trying to get this put onto our website so that you can all share it. We'll certainly try and get it around the Facebook group so that you can see it. There's a little bit of colourful language in there, if I can call it that, so excuse us, but we can't really do anything with it. I'm just trying to make sure that we can do this without infringing any sort of copyright, which I don't think we can, but we will. But you need to look at it. But just to explain it again, the man thought he was selling a car. Meanwhile, the crooks applied for a loan in the name of the business, the garage that was selling the cars was granted that. The money therefore went straight into the bank, and the businessman thought, oh, well, this is good, but hold on a minute, I just want to check it out. Had he not done so, he'd have been paying for his own car. It's a bit naughty. It is now up on the main ICB Facebook page, I've just been told, so that's good. We'll try and get it up on the website as well. So just I'm giving you the gist of what it's all about. You need to get your clients to be careful. So if you've got anybody in that sort of business, or anybody that's selling large value items to people that they might really like to get hold of, show them the video, alert them to it, and just explain that you'll help them wherever you can to make sure that they're not getting involved with anything like this. But thankfully, the garage owner just smelt something was funny. It's like we always said, if it smells funny, it probably is wrong. So, Jackie.
Yeah, I strongly advise everybody to watch that, because I watched it just before we came on air, and I was absolutely amazed. And yeah, we thank him for putting that out in the public domain to warn people. It's certainly worth watching it. You know, it surprised me. Very sensible man.
And big thanks to her as well. Yeah, she's always got her eyes open.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's, but please do watch it. It's only 3 or 4 minutes long. It's not very long. So, okay. One question that came up last week to which I didn't know the answer, and I should have done, because we have actually covered it before. We've covered so many questions. You have to forgive me. Senior moments are cropping up more and more, and I could not remember the answer. Redundancy and furlough. If somebody is being made redundant, can you still claim furlough for them? The answer to that is yes, you can. And I have found the link onto the gov.uk website. I sent it to the particular member earlier in it. We had a chat about it, I think Monday or Tuesday, and I've sent the information over. If you have to make somebody who is currently on furlough redundant, then you can still claim furlough money for them, but for their wages. What you can't claim it for, and that's what confused me and I've forgotten, is the actual additional redundancy payment. So if you make someone redundant, you pay them up to the last day, and then you have to pay them the minimum redundancy, which is based on how long they've worked for you and what their average earnings are, I think. So that you can't use it for, but you can use it for paying their basic salary. Okay, so the member that texted in to say that they'd been advised by the accountant to claim the furlough for the staff they were making redundant because it saves other staff being made redundant, is still a bit, that's not the reason. The reason is you can claim furlough pay if they are on redundancy notice, but not the furlough, not the redundancy payment itself. Okay, so that hopefully has got that one cleared out. Interesting conversation I've had this morning, actually, which I think is going to crop up more and more. And this is another one of these events that's beginning to take place now, for which the government is being a little bit vague. And that's with shielding, or if you live with someone who has been shielding and you've been on furlough because you have not felt safe. Now, what the government is saying at the moment is that from the 1st of August, the shielding as such comes to an end. So shielding is no longer a reason for staying on furlough. That finishes on the 1st of August. So what is the situation if somebody then says, well, I still don't feel safe about going back to work? Can you still furlough them? Now, this particular situation took place because this is a pub and one of the bar staff is feeling not safe about coming back to work. And therefore, the pub owner is asking our member, you know, what should they do? Can they make them redundant? Well, we had a chat about that. And bearing in mind that employment law is still in place, they can't actually make the person redundant because they've actually employed somebody else to do the work. So the job itself is not redundant. So the place is not redundant because they've had to employ someone to do the work. So therefore, come the 1st of August, when the employer has to start contributing towards NIC's pension costs and then salary after that, the pub owner can't really afford to keep them on. So what should they do? They've also mentioned that the employee is not the best of employees, so can they get rid of them? And my answer to that was, well, no, not because they're a flaky employee, because you'd have to go through a full, proper dismissal, investigation, dismissal, warnings, and all sorts of things, as you would normally. Otherwise, you could possibly find yourself subject to wrongful dismissal. But as it's a 0 hours contract, are you committed to still keeping them on if they're working? The only thing the government is saying at the moment is if you can work from home, still work from home, although the Prime Minister has announced he wants to get everybody back into work into the offices within the near future. So I think we sort of came up with the view today, although the member is going to go off and do some more research, that it's probably perfectly legitimate if the person does not want to come back to work to just not give them any work and to keep them on the 0 hours contract. I would be interested for any comments and feedback that anybody has got on that. Let's have a look at, so any questions on that would be grateful. That's probably all I've got actually on furlough. Questions.
While you're looking for your next thing, Jackie, just then to say that for the last 3 days we have been taking part in an inspection from OPBAS, the Office for Professional Body Supervisors, OPBAS, and you've heard a lot about them. We were drilled a little bit. Several of us had to be interviewed, myself, June, Steve Hardwick, Jane Hardwick, Amy Church, who is the person that does the administration of all of our applications, and also Mike Jardine, one of our inspectors. We have to wait for about 6 weeks till we get the official letter saying what they think we've done right or wrong. I have to say they were thankfully very positive once they left. And one of the things I know which will upset a lot of you is that they were very pleased with the fact that we'd extended the number of questions on our AML online, because they feel that they are now a proper test of your compliance with the new extended laws. So we have been asked to try and make them all a little bit more palatable, a little bit easier to handle, but we can't reduce them in number. It's a bit of a nuisance when you've got a new client, but there are so many new things now that you have to know about your clients that it was decided that it was great. So as soon as we've got the letter, obviously we'll give you the official note, but I've got my fingers crossed that actually we'll come out as having done very well. I mean, we obviously want to be best in show if we can. I always refer it to as that. And so, yeah, it was a great day. I'm going to have a much better weekend now that they've at least given us a tentative thumbs up. So just so that you know. So actually, it's down not just to us. I mean, we bring in the rules and regs, but you're the people that stick to them, and they're all very, very aware that our members are made to jump through a lot more hoops than perhaps some others, and that we have, as ICB, got a whole. I mean, AML permeates, I've said, every single corner of this business, because it has to, because I think that when we became an AML supervisor, we stepped up to the table, and, you know, it defines ICB and our whole ethos of standards, quality, and doing the job properly. So well done to everybody. Provided they don't change their mind between now and when they put the letter in the post, I'm hoping that everything is okay, but I'll let you know if we've misread the situation when that comes. So thank you, Jackie.
Yeah, I have to say my congratulations to the team at ICB there, because I know how much work has gone into getting that inspection and getting everything ready, and I echo what Garry says about thank you to all the members who are falling in line with what we need to do. It's not our choice to do it, it's been imposed on us. So yeah, there's an awful lot of work gone on behind the scenes to get to that stage. So, you know, I have to say that I think
it was frightened us a little bit, but it's been very helpful in as much as it's clarified everybody's mind. It's given us a proper direction. And I think in the past we were all thinking we were doing right things, but we had no steering, no guidance. So I'm not very popular for supporting OPBAS quite often in our own profession, but I think they've done good. And I'm not just saying that because they seem to be quite happy with it yesterday. I mean, I did say that after our first inspection when they picked a few holes in what we were doing. But unless somebody tells us where we're going wrong, we're not going to know. We're carrying on blindly trying to get make up our own mind what's right and not and what's not. But
well,
anyway.
again, I think this matches up with what we were saying in previous weeks. I've come across because I meet up with a lot of other professional bodies through HMRC, and I'm horrified at some of the stories that come out of poorly qualified professionals or organisations who perhaps don't monitor what their members are doing, and it can open up a whole load of issues. Okay, let's get into some questions. On my MTD for VAT, Claire Coxhill, hi Claire, is there any news of whether the threshold for registering for VAT is going to change from £85,000? The answer to that one quickly is no, I haven't heard of anything. And the second question is, if someone is not near the threshold, presumably they don't have to register, so therefore don't fall into this particular MTD VAT change. No, that's right. If you're not registered for that, you don't fall into having to do the digital record keeping. However, what I would say is that be very careful if your clients are approaching the VAT threshold. I think I mentioned this last week that an accountant said to one of their clients, who happens to be a client of our member, to split the business into two to avoid having to register for VAT, which is completely wrong. And we've had a chat with our member about this, and the member's now actually been asked by the client if she would do everything for him, because she's dropping the accountant and going with everything with our member who's doing all the year end and everything. So that's great, because he trusts her far more than he does his accountant. So that's good news for our member and good news for us. But do be careful if your clients are approaching the VAT threshold. What some people will do is deliberately keep their turnover below the VAT threshold. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing that at all. However, HMRC are aware that this happens, and if the turnover is consistently close to the VAT registration threshold, and they'll get that from the self-assessment returns, you may very well find that they will start to look into that particular individual to see if there is any chance they may be doing cash sales and not recording it to keep themselves under the VAT. So again, that's fraud. You've got to be careful. I'm not saying that that's the case, but if they are truly deciding to keep their turnover below £85,000, but just below, then be very, very careful if you've got a client in that situation. Yeah,
Jackie, we had a case, and I've mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again, of one of our members who rang us up and said, I've asked, I'm doing a self-assessment tax return, and I've been asked by my client to do this. I've said I need to see his personal bank account, and he is refusing. Do I have to demand that you see it? We said, yes, you most certainly do. I mean, the idea of a person's self-assessment tax is it encompasses everything that they're earning. So he wasn't very happy about it. Eventually showed her his personal bank account, and he'd moved 45,000 across from the business, so it missed the business completely. Now, I'm not sure if the reason was he was trying to avoid the VAT or just trying to avoid the tax, but people will do this. And to be honest with you, it must be very difficult to try and maintain that couple of £1,000 short of the VAT limit on a regular basis. I mean, what do you do? Stop working in October because you're full, or what? So obviously, HMRC are going to be suspicious, and so should you be as bookkeepers.
Yeah. It's all right if it's a one-off that slips over the threshold, because they will allow for that if it drops back down, because you have to have one big job or something that's come through. There are allowances for that, but if it's happening on a regular basis, then no, you do need to be very careful about it. I have to say, this job is getting harder and harder. It really is.
But I think so. We recently, as somebody that was being asked to do the invoices for the last 2 months of the year, date them for 2 months hence, so that they went into the next financial year. Yeah, we'll worry about it next year. Again, that's a fraudulent activity. So don't fall in for that one either. You've got to put the right addresses on and right dates on there. And another of our members, we said, I've been told never to put dates on my clients' invoices. You've got to be in control. You are totally and utterly in control. And at the end of the day, you're totally and utterly responsible as well. So doesn't happen very often, but just be careful, please.
Question from Angela. Good afternoon, Angela. I have 0 hours employees who work term time only, so normally don't work in August. Do they still get furlough payment in August? Well, the answer to that will be, do they normally get holiday pay in August? Because they've built up holidays. And I would say if they normally pay holiday pay, then I think they should still be furloughed at their holiday pay rate. And you then claim the 80% back. So it is going to cost the employers some money because they're going to have to pay for the employer's NI in August. But I think they would look at what normally happens. If normally they're off in August, but they get paid holiday pay for that, then my view is they should still be furloughed. Because if they leave, they're going to be owed that holiday money, because this one particular has handed notice in to finish in August. Do they receive August furlough payment? Well, I would sort out a holiday payment for them and pay them their holiday pay and claim for the furlough. But I think that's a legal requirement to pay them holidays if they're owed holidays. Now, if they're not owed any holiday because they've already had all their holiday pay, then I think you would be perfectly entitled to not pay them under a 0 hours contract. I think you've got to look back and see what is normal practice in August for these particular employees. I think, if that helps. Julia Williams. Hi, Julia. My hairdresser client has a pregnant employee who does not want to come back to work. She can't start maternity leave until September at the earliest. Can she stay on furlough? Well, she can stay on furlough. There's no problem with her staying on furlough. If the employee's, happy to do that. Obviously, in August, they've got to start paying the employer's NI and any pension contributions. But from September, when she goes on maternity leave, of course, she can start to claim her maternity leave, and all of that is reclaimable back under the SMP. So she's probably going to be better off. She'll get 90% of her salary, and then statutory maternity is about £146 something a week at the moment. So yeah, she can stay on furlough until she leaves and then go on maternity leave. That's, I think that's a fair thing to do. I think.
Jackie, I've just picked one up from Steve Delson. This has come through on the Facebook section. Hello, sorry, a bit of a long one. I have an inquiry from an investment advisor that I know. The advisor has clients who need help with capital gains tax calculations and returns, as well as self-assessment tax returns. This is a service which I want to provide, but he has said that he would be paying the accountancy bookkeeping invoice on his client's behalf. Would this mean that I need to carry out MLR checks on the investment advisor who is providing the clients and the individuals concerned, who would be the client? Now, wait a minute, I need to read that one again. Advisor has clients who need help with capital gains tax and returns. Right, it's down to who you invoice. And I can't quite figure out from what you said, Steve, whether or not you would be invoicing the individuals, because you say that your this investment advisor will be paying the fees. Now, if he is charging the people for this service, he's actually providing an accountancy service himself, and he will need to be supervised. So he won't be supervised at the moment for, I think, for the advice you've been given. Again, you need to check on that, in which case he is probably going to want you to invoice the individual. So yes, everybody to whom you send an invoice. Now, if as part of your work for the advisor, if he is going to be your ultimate and only client, if during that work you find that something untoward is happening with his clients for whom you're working, you are then supposed to, first of all, report any doubts or problems to him. But if you feel that he's not taking seriously, or he's not reacting properly, or he's not doing something about it, then you then become the responsible person. And you need to put in a SAR, again, not telling the financial advisor or the clients that you're doing. Yeah, I agree, Steve. You just want to say, I need to clarify the arrangement with the advisor, I think. I mean, a financial advisor does not come under the supervision rules that I'm aware of for accounting and bookkeeping or anything like that. But if he's going to be, even though he's not providing the service, he's employing you to do that, if therefore by default his company then becomes an accountancy service provider, he needs to get he needs to get licensed by somebody. It wouldn't be us. I'm not sure who he'd go to, but anyway. So once you've got something else, Steve, either come back to us on this program at some future date, or drop us a line through to the technical advice line, and we'll do our best to answer that. So thank you very much.
I do know, Gary, that independent financial advisors have to have a license, so it may very well be that the license that they get for that. We were talking about this the other week with some members who deal with client funds, and one of those has an investment advisor, and they have to have a separate license. So it may very well be that their license covers them for anti-money laundering. But
I think it probably does. But
yeah.
For our member needs to be a bit careful. You've got to know who the client is. And thanks for that, says Steve. I'll check. So great, Steve. Glad to help. I know it's not been an end to your question, but we'll move that forward when we know what exactly the question is.
Right, quick one from Claire. This is going back on my VAT query and the members keeping below, and she says, what dreadful advice. I do hope you're referring to the accountant's advice and not mine there, Claire. Do let me know. Susanna Whelan has come back on the shielding. Hi, just checking I heard right. I know that shielding is coming to an end in August, but if the employer still wishes to keep an employee who was shielding on furlough because they want to continue shielding, is that still okay? Yes, it is, because furlough continues. So if there is an agreement between the employee and the employer that furloughing is still suitable, then that's absolutely fine. But just bear in mind that there is going to be a cost implication to the employee, so that's fine. But as she goes on to say, I understand in the case you mentioned the employer does not want to continue to furlough, but I have a client who does want to continue. Yeah, that's absolutely fine, Susanna. That's great.
We had a query.
Claire's come back and said, I meant about splitting the company, not your advice. Thank you, Claire. I just wanted to get that sorted.
We had a query in the week, which was nothing to do with the programme, obviously. They just wanted some advice. And one of our bookkeepers says that he was working for a client, and the client's daughter had been on the staff. He was never quite sure that she'd actually worked, but she was getting £12,000 a year, sort of like helping out with the tax situation. He then furloughed her, but he's just found out she's actually back at university. So she probably never was working. On this instance, we suggested that he put in a report because we think that is fraudulent activity, and either he or his daughter, I'm not sure which, is laundering money. But anyway, there are lots of scams about. I mean, why can't people just be normal and straight down the middle? It's a lot easier.
Elizabeth Jones says, could you outline the guidance for redundancy, i.e. how many years the employee needs to work to get redundancy pay? We have an employee who has been with us since the 8th of January 2018. I can't remember if it's 1 or 2 years. So whichever that is, I don't think it's more than 2 years, so they probably would qualify. And there are a lot of hoops to go through. You're making the job redundant because for whatever reason you're making redundancy. There are legal implications to what you do. There are rules and regulations that you have to follow. There are methods that you have to go through. And then there is a calculation based on length of service and salary as to how much redundancy pay they're going to get. So I think it's 2 years, but I'll have to look that one up. It's plus since I've looked into redundancies. I probably ought to do that because we're going to get more and more of these, aren't we? Okay. Oh, Suzanne's come back and said 2 full years. Thank you, Suzanne. It is 2 years. I thought it was for redundancy. So 8th of January, yes, they will qualify for redundancy pay.
Just to say, we've got a different anchor today. We had Alex the other day instead of Sobi, because Sobi was off, and we've today got Iris Christofides, who is our social media expert, or one of them, working alongside Alex, funnily enough. I've just had a text from a rather ill Sobi who's in hospital saying, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you today, Gary. Didn't it show you what great commitment we've got from our team? So, and I'm sort of saying about Sobi, don't worry about me, get on with it, but thank you for that, Sobi. Yeah, no, she's not very well. She's just nipped to the hospital to make sure she's okay. Yeah, we wish you the very best, Sobi. Sorry, interrupted.
Yeah, I had a chat with Sobi this morning. I know she's gone for testing, but she's, yeah. And Sue Raisin, hi Sue. Sue's come back and said, I'm 98% certain it's 2 years for redundancy. Yes, I thought it was 2 years, but I think the year is for unfair dismissal, actually. I think that's come down from 2 years to 1 year now, but dismissal procedures. So yes, 2 years for redundancy, and follow the procedures to make sure that you're doing it correctly. Make sure you're not falling foul of discrepancy laws with redundancy. Redundancy not suitable for people on maternity leave, parental leave, that sort of thing. There's all those things to go through. Making somebody redundant is not an easy process. It is can be very long-winded and very complex. I've been involved in this a number of times in previous lives, as it were, and yeah, not very pleasant. So wish you good luck with that one. Do they qualify for holiday pay? If that's redundancy, yes, they do.
Yeah,
up to the time at which they leave. Full holiday pay accrues up till the final day. So if you actually sort that out the day they leave, they will get any unpaid holiday leave, they'll get their salary up to date, and they will get the redundancy pay. And I have a feeling that the redundancy pay up to a certain amount, the redundancy lump sum, is possibly tax-free.
Yes, and another one we came across the other day, if you put somebody on gardening leave, you can't tell them that's their holiday. So, you know, you need to be careful with redundancy. Yeah. Obviously, hope you never have to use redundancy, but you do need to be careful. And at all stages, you and the person who's being made redundant have got to have lots of conversations to make sure that both sides are happy with it.
Now, here's another possible scam one. Pauline Chapman. No, it's not a scam. I shouldn't say that, but this is an interesting one, and I think this is something again which is happening more and more. Pauline says, "Hi all, very grateful these Friday sessions. Thank you. I have a limited company client which has 2 directors. One is the managing director's wife who takes a wage through the business but doesn't actually do any work in the business at all. The managing director has furloughed her and is claiming 80% of her wage and topping up the rest. Should he be doing this?" We're into ethics versus actuals here, because HMRC have stated that as long as you fall within the realms of the rules for furloughing, that's all they need to know. And I think I was watching, I have a feeling it was Jim Harrow was being interviewed by the Treasury Select Committee a couple of weeks ago, and I watched it. And he stated quite rightly that it is not HMRC's job to monitor the ethics of any situation, only to monitor the legality of it. So I assume really if they're being paid and they're paying tax and NI, then they are entitled to be furloughed. How do you prove that the person's done no work and hasn't done any work? Gary's looking very thoughtful.
Well, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, I know. Julie and I, for example, we do a lot of work after hours. Now, there's nothing to say that the managing director isn't going home and the wife is, I don't know, looking over his accounts for him, giving him suggestions, nagging him to do something or whatever it might, you know, who knows? The idea, unless if she's got another full-time job, that brings it a little bit more into question. But I don't think there's anything which was, it's a difficult one, isn't it? There are so many grey areas in tax.
The thing is, if you've got a husband and wife working together as directors of a limited company, then you're going to get 2 personal allowances. You're going to get 2 allowances for wages out of the same the same amount of money, and it could very well be splitting the money for tax and NI purposes. I mean, there's nothing illegal about doing that. I don't even know whether it's immoral. It's allowable, I think. Again, if you disagree with me, come back. Please do come back. We're getting lots of lovely comments this afternoon. You're being very interactive. I love it. It's difficult, that one. Polly there says, "Hi Polly, I have a new client with 4 related limited companies." I might have to duck this one. "I have quoted a monthly fee which covers all companies, and they want me to invoice one company who will then cross-charge to the other 3. Should I send individual LOEs to each company, as I will be providing slightly different services to each? How should I word it that monthly payment for services will be paid by just the one company? And I tell you one thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have a problem or an issue with your posting your own invoices if you're working for them, because there's going to be intercompany transfers there, which is not the best, because if one company is paying for another company's services, the year end is a nightmare if you're into intercompany transactions for related companies.
Yeah. I think probably the best thing to do is look at why. I mean, it could be that the person is, if he is actively managing all four companies, and it's not a VAT avoidance scheme, it's just normal companies, they're doing slightly different things. Rather than him having 4 PAYE accounts, he just has the one, and then he recharges whichever business is able to pay. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, provided he's paying his tax and nothing else is going on. But you do need to know who owns the company and make sure that it is the man, and who else is involved. Is there somebody different with each of the companies, or is that it? If it's just the same company under a different name, is he trying to do something fraudulent? Is he trying to sell a product differently? Just ask yourself a few questions, really. But it may be as simple as he just wants to pay himself once through one company and move stuff around between companies, which, providing he's doing it all above board, there's nothing wrong with him doing this, Jack.
I can't think of a reason why not. No, I can't. I mean, it's a fee, it's bona fide. They're linked companies. No, I can't think of a problem with that. I think you need to specify what you're going to be doing for each company, though. Otherwise, that could get quite confusing. My gut reaction is you've got to have to look out for intercompany transactions, because if he's doing that with your invoice, then you can bet your bottom dollar he's going to be doing it with other things as well. And you've got A, B, C, and D, and A is going to be invoiced, and B is going to pay, and then C is going to invoice, and D is going to pay. And if I did it with 2 companies, it was a partnership and a limited company which were related, and we did that sort of thing as they were in the process of transferring over. The intercompany transfers and loans were trying to get them to balance was not the most straightforward thing. So good luck with that one.
But I think you need to have back with each, because you've got to prove that you have been authorised to do that work, surely, because you'll be going into bank details, you'll be going into invoices, you'll be doing all sorts of things. I think you'd be wise to get 4 agreements, even if one holding agreement says that actually I'm only going to charge one of you for it.
Yeah.
But I would also have a backdrop there that, but if that company can't afford it, I reserve the right to charge one of the other, any of the companies to get my money.
Yeah.
Be careful.
For goodness sake, don't get involved in intercompany disputes. Not good, that one. Couple more on our non-working managing director's wife. Pauline's come back and said, she has 3 children, I know them well, and she doesn't do any work from the business, but she certainly nags him about employees. No comment. And Suzanne has come back and said, so for the husband, it's an interesting one. So for the husband and wife directors with wife on furlough, presumably they will also benefit from the £1,000 end of furlough bonus for being retained on the payroll. My goodness, you're on the ball today, all of you. I'm sure HMRC would not have, something going on outside the window. I'm sure HMRC would not have intended like this, but as you say, it doesn't seem to be explicit breaking the rules. Well, the same thing applies to directors who have furloughed themselves and are now going to come back to work and then claim £1,000 for themselves. I don't see any difference in it. These sole managing directors who have been furloughed and we've had the discussions about what they should and shouldn't do, are now back part furloughing, and how much work do you say a director's doing on part furlough? They're apparently able to claim the £1,000 as well. So I don't think there's any difference there, that one. But well done, they're coming in. Faye Watkins, hi Faye. Faye's come back and said, when I worked in Australia, now that's just showing off, Faye. When I worked in Australia for a brewery, 8 pubs and a warehouse, intercompany was great fun. It was to do with cash flow. So yes, one company's going to move cash around. So yeah, thanks for that, Faye. That's good. Working in a pub in Australia, I don't know. Sounds good to me.
Right.
Lots of
Bit
lovely
like
comments today.
Newcastle, that one, isn't it?
I don't think I've got anything else on my list of things to say, unless anybody's got any other questions. So Gary,
I've got a few things. I'm sure some questions will come up while I'm saying. So I've got a few things just to talk about. Unqualified staff. Some of our members are finding it difficult to get qualified ICB people to work for them, and they're bringing people in who are unqualified. But also because some unqualified staff is accepting lower wages. Whatever the reason might be, don't forget you are responsible for these people, so they should be on a training program or something in order to make sure that they know what they're doing. Now, we've come across something. I've just been on the phone earlier this morning with one of our members who's just lost an account to an unqualified bookkeeper. But what it turned out was that the unqualified bookkeeper has been set up in a company with a qualified bookkeeper, and so the company looks as if it's run by a qualified bookkeeper, but it's not. Now, I don't think there's anything that they've done that's illegal or immoral in that, but you just need to make sure that you don't get involved in anything like that. Now, the other thing is we've had a couple of mentions just today about people, on questions here, about people who are our members who are passing on information to accountants, and then the accountant seems to be completely doing things differently and we think incorrectly. If you get this, will you register these problems with us? Because we are putting together a paper which we are trying to explain the differences between bookkeeping and accounting. We're doing this for government. We've been asked to do it because, it is occasionally causing clashes and differences of interpretation, if I can put it that way. But we need to just try. So I can't keep going and saying we're getting lots of them. And they say, well, how many? Can you show me one? And I'm saying, well, it just feels like a lot. So I've got to have actual information. So if we do that. Now, I fell out with a practice this week. It's not like me, you know me, very subtle, very kind, gentle. Anyway, there is a very strange and hard to understand part of the money laundering supervision that we give to you as a practice. If you want to bring in a new person who is going to be a beneficial owner, officer, or manager, you actually have to seek permission. Now, I know that sounds strange because this is your business and who are we poking in our nose? But the law says that you must be given authority to take on a new person because we, as your supervisor, have to give you the okay because we need to look into that person. So, for example, we need to get a DBS from them, etc. Now, this particular lady and I had a quite terse session because she said, well, it's my business and I'll do what I want. And I said, look, I absolutely agree. Under normal circumstances, it would be. And I explained it to her. Well, that's rubbish, she said. So thankfully, June passed me the actual piece of legislation and I read it out to her. And she said, oh, well, that's poppycock. Now, you might think that, but the problem is that some people, sometimes for a bit of capital injection or whatever, are allowing in people who are not going to be authorized to be the owner of what is a financial business, a bookkeeping business, and you do need to ask that. So even if it's your uncle, your son, daughter, wife, husband, or whatever it is, you need to have them checked out first. For your safety and security, it's a matter of law. So please don't think it's ICB being difficult or anything else. If anybody wants me to, I haven't got it in front of me, but I can. It's on the website, but I can tell you where this comes in if necessary, if for any reason you don't believe me, but I can assure you that that's the way it is. Have we had any more questions or can I keep going? Right, in that case, we have got quite a few things coming on for the next couple of weeks, and just to give you an idea, Monday the 27th, we have an Edinburgh branch meeting, that's on at 5 o'clock. Tuesday 28th, Tax Filer are doing the latest in their very, very popular series of webinars. This one is about tax refunds, and that's 10:30, Tuesday the 28th. Northeast, we've got a meeting taking up there on Tuesday the 28th. And also on Tuesday the 28th, we've got Cumbria and Lancashire. Now, we're doing a joint meeting up there. That's at 7 o'clock on the 28th. And June and I are going to host that one because we've got a couple of people up there fighting for the top job to be to be chair. So we've decided we're going to go in at the moment, and we're going to, so come and meet us, please. Anybody from Cumbria or Lancashire. Then on the 29th, it's another City of London branch. That's at 6 p.m. Then on the 30th, two sessions there. One, we've got the latest Fluidly webinar. That's the future of cash flow, and that's on at 3 p.m. And then we've got Shropshire and Staffordshire. That's again Thursday the 30th. That's at 7 p.m. And again, that's me and the missus. That's June and myself. So we'll be doing that. We've got then Somerset and Wiltshire and Dorset doing a joint one on the 6th of August. That's at 7 p.m. So we're going into August now. Warwickshire, 7th of August, 9 a.m. That's an early start for that one. Devon on the 10th of August, 7 p.m. And Northern Ireland on the 18th of August at 7:30 p.m. Now, they're all on the website. You can get onto them. You can cross borders much more easily now that we're on Zoom. But please register for those if you want to come along. And meanwhile, the people from those specific areas, we'd love to see you. Whoa, right. Jackie, anything else coming up?
Yeah, one more coming from Pauline. This is actually probably going to be one for you, Garry, again. You're doing a lot this afternoon for us. I do payroll for 4 clients. I was just wondering, if I was to fall ill and was unable to do the payroll for these clients, what would I do, assuming I would have to have a qualified bookkeeper to take over? Isn't that the part of practice now, Garry, to have, can't remember what it's called?
Cope.
Cope.
That's it. Continuation of practice.
Continuation of practice, yeah.
I forgot what the E stands for.
No, I don't know.
But in the first place. Yeah, no, you really do need to have something in place for that, because unfortunately, you know, a lot of people do have a reason for, thankfully, normally temporarily pausing, but sometimes a little bit more than that. But so yeah, you should do that. I mean, if you're linked into your branch network, find somebody there that you get on with, just do a COPE agreement. The agreement is actually on the website. It's a damn good agreement, actually. It's free. You just download it, change all the names, put that in, and then you've got that. Make sure that your client knows, you know, you don't need to, you mustn't hand over bank account details and all the rest of it immediately, but you need to say, if anything happens to me, this is who you go to, and I'll make sure that I contact them as well, hopefully, if I'm well enough to do that. And it's just another service that you offer as a single bookkeeper, or as a lone bookkeeper, or as a lone practice. And it should be reassurance for your clients. So just add it to your list of reasons why you're not just a bookkeeper, you're an ICB bookkeeper.
And they are so on the ball. Claire came back, even as you spoke, Garry, with the letter COPE. And Susanna is now saying, can we have a webinar or more info on COPE, please?
Yes, you can. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll put that down.
On the list?
Always up to suggestions. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great one to do. Yeah, okay. No, that's brilliant. A couple of other things I've got here. You've got any more questions, or are you done there? Haven't we watched
No, the list is done.
Great.
Running out of steam.
Now, I haven't had any suggestions this week for books. I did have a suggestion for somebody from a film, and it came in the week. So actually, June and I watched it last night and the night before. Michael. I don't know if you've come across Michael. It stars John Travolta, and it's about an irreverent angel, a real angel with wings, and he gets up to his normal dance moves, because John Travolta does like to dance, but yeah, quite interesting, and a nice film, actually. So if you come across that, Michael. So in the absence of anything else, something that I got into on the lockdown, I don't know how many of you have found Northern Soul Girl. So this is taking me back a bit, I'm afraid. Too many years to count. But there's a girl called Lavanna McLean, and she has discovered Northern Soul. Remember that? The old bouncing and twiddling and all the rest of it. Not sure I did much of that, but years ago, before women went to dances and put their handbags in the middle of the room and danced around those, they stood back and watched while their idiotic partners bounced up down, twirled round like whirling dervishes to something called Northern Soul. So some lovely music in there. Lavanna, all she seems to do is does this particular Northern Soul dance to various records. But those of you who have either remember Northern Soul or like me are far too young, but we've discovered it in later years. She's got a couple of good ones on there. Destination by Sam Cox, or I Want to Give You Tomorrow by Benny Troy, just to mention a few. But I certainly remember my days. I did get to Wigan Casino once before they knocked it down. Somewhere called the Cheshire Cat, which I think was Nantwich or somewhere like that, when I was feeling really posh. And otherwise, normally it was Wellington Town Hall. So anybody out there, let me know if you remember any of those. And as we're doing the Shropshire Staffordshire thing shortly, I'm hoping to come across a few of you that still remember going to see, I'm just trying his name, Sam Smith. That's it, Sam Smith at the Town Hall, Wellington. So,
okay, quick one. Fiona's come back on the COPE saying, is there a standard COPE agreement for groups working together? If not today, could it go into the webinar if you're doing some training?
We can do it in the webinar. The agreement is on the website. If you put in COPE under the search, it is the continuation of practice engagement.
Engagement, thank you.
Yeah. I like the word COPE, and I had sat for ages trying to figure out what would fit into that. But yeah, it's a really good agreement. It was written by a man that worked for us, Ben. He was our internal solicitor at the time. You know, he did a lot of work for us, and everybody said it's a good agreement. In fact, a lot of people have pitched it, but no, it's there. You're free to use it. Just make sure it fits the bill for you. With all our agreements, when we give you templates, you can just substitute your name in the gaps. But just make sure that you don't commit yourself to something that you don't want to do. It's a bit of a difficult one. But, you know, a lot of our members in the past 12 months have struggled, not just because of COVID. I mean, you know, we've had illnesses, we've had divorces, we've had all sorts of things happening, and it does take it out of you sometimes. And you don't want to upset your client because you want to be able to come back when you manage to either get through it or the tranquilizers kick in or whatever it might be. You know, so please bear that in mind. Anything else, Jackie?
Not at the moment, no. I think that's everything. I think we've answered all the questions. I've got nothing else to add.
Great. Well, we are just on the hour anyway, so that's very, very good. I don't think oh, yes, I have. I've got something to tell you. Well, this is of interest, not to everybody, but to some people. I've mentioned before that our council are great and wonderful people. They're elected. They do everything free of charge, apart from some expenses to get to and from our meetings. They do 4 a year of those. At the moment, obviously, they're Zoom meetings, but they are members of good standing, like yourself, those of you who are listening in, and you can get yourself elected. We've got some elections coming up shortly. Suzanne Proctor's already waiting for a form from us when they come out on the 1st of August. So, Suzanne, we'll gladly like to see you in the election for that, because you've done a lot for ICB in the way out wilds of bonnie Scotland, but there are lots of other vacancies we have. I think in all we've got 13 vacancies where people have retired by rotation and they've given us of their time for several years and now need a bit of a rest. And if you get onto council, of course, you'll be joining us on January the 1st, 2021. And it's our anniversary year, so you get to help us and join with us on our big anniversary celebrations, which are going. We'll probably launch them this year at conference, because that's in November, which is our actual anniversary date, 1st of November. So November the 1st until the end of our year next year. Of course, we're into our 25th year. As soon as the 1st of November comes up this year, we'll be doing all sorts of wonderful things for you, so join in with that. But just as special recognition, you know, we have people with certain letters after their name, like an MP, an MEP, an MSP. As from today, I am pleased to say that we are going to give further recognition to our council members by allowing them to use 3 letters after their name, which are ACM. Which is Advisory Council Member. So if you see somebody with the letters ACM after their name, you don't have to bow to them or do anything else to them, but it shows you that they have taken time out of their very busy lives to be helpful to ICB and help us decide on our future, decide on your future, and work for your benefit. So I'm hoping the fact that they've got designation after the name like an MP, it doesn't mean we're now going to have an expensive scandal, but just to reiterate, they don't get paid for this at all. And they're all busy people. And my mum always said, if you want a job doing, go to a busy person. And we've certainly seemed to have done that. So I would encourage you all to look out on the 1st of August for the nomination forms. You know, if you can spare us some time and you think you can add something into ICB, into the mix, we would love to have your involvement. Great.
Can I just pick up on one thing that's just come up, Garry? Nicola Ramage. Sorry, before I get to Nicola, Pauline has said, I had a phone call and missed that about COPE. I will have to watch a rerun of this webinar. Well, you know, I don't want to stop you doing that, but we were talking about what it was, where you should get it. You could download the agreement, and that's, people are asking for some training on it. But what I do want to say is Nicola has put up a message saying, having had an emergency operation this week, I was so thankful that I had a group COPE in place. Certainly with peace of mind, and I'm able to get better without worrying about my clients. As it happens, I should be able to complete my payroll as usual. Well, first of all, well done for keeping on with your payroll. As we said, you know, we do work hard. But Nicola, can we all wish you well and hope that you're going to recover quickly?
Which Nicola is it? Do we know?
Nicola Ramage. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So good luck, Nicola, and get well soon. And we're sorry to hear that you've been poorly, and hopefully everything will be fine. And we send you our love.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're a big family here at ICB, and yeah, we don't like to hear of one of us getting ill. So yeah, good luck with that.
Pauline's just come back and said, who can I use though if I don't know another qualified bookkeeper? Don't worry, Pauline, there are plenty in your area. As Garry said, try your local branch. But if you need some more information quickly, then pop us an email over and we'll get some information out to you. I think, Garry, is that the best thing to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's better if it's somebody in your area that you know, but you know, if necessary, yeah, we'll have a bank of people who will do this sort of thing. And you know, part of the agreement is they don't poach your clients. You know, they're there to help you, and you know, what arrangements you do, various arrangements as you can make to get this to work. But no. So yeah, look out for that. And yeah, the training program is a good idea. We're actually going to be doing a lot more webinars because we're going to bring these in as part of ICB TV actually. So there'll be, you know, sort of live shows Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and a couple of tape shows, perhaps Tuesday, Thursday, anything like that really. So that we're constantly feeding you with stuff. And we've got a new man joining us on the 5th of August, Sujay, who is actually going to be doing a lot more work with the new members and the new members in practice particularly. So we look forward to greeting him. Great. Okay, I think that's it, folks. So have a wonderful weekend. Don't forget to watch the film Michael and get on and see Northern Soul Girl. You can find her on the website and sorry, not on the website, on YouTube, and or on the web. So thank you very much indeed. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, Jacquie, as always.
Last quick question from
Judith.
Judith, I'll get an answer to you on that one rather than do that now because I'm not sure about the answer, so I'll get back to you, Judith. So yes, have a good weekend, everybody, and don't do anything I wouldn't do. And mine is shifting 2 tons of soil from one end of the garden to the other because it's all just been delivered this morning. So there went my weekend if it's not raining. Who needs a gym?
Yeah. Okay, everybody. See you soon.
Take care. Bye.